Hi, Pastor Doug.
Hello, Beth. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We have another rotation coming up.
Yeah, this time it's on the story of Joshua.
Ah, yes.
Jericho.
Another one of my favorite stories as a kid. Joshua fought the Battle of Jericho.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
All right.
So this is a huge story.
Sure.
It's really long. And we encourage everybody who's working with kids and parents to read Joshua chapter 1 through 6 and 23 and 24. We're skipping those middle parts.
Sure.
But take some time to read it.
Yeah.
One of the things that I like about the story is that it's a bookend for this whole for the people of Israel and how they got into Egypt with Joseph and out with Moses and now into the Promised Land.
Yeah, it really is sort of the one of the final chapters of the wandering. It is the final chapter of the wandering in the wilderness that started 40 years earlier in Egypt, where the Israelites were enslaved, where they were forced to work hard and make bricks and build up the palace of the Egyptians and the kingdom of the Egyptian people. And yeah, that of course started with Moses saying, "Let my people go." And the plagues. We did the rotation on the plagues, which is always kind of fun.
So now we find people in the wilderness.
Yeah, well, but the plagues, I mean, it began with that, the Pharaoh finally saying, "Go, be free," and they come up to the Red Sea or the Reed Sea, and Pharaoh changes his mind yet again and pursues them to the edge of the sea, the Red Sea, and of course that's when you have that great scene of holding up the staff and the waters part, the Red Sea parts, and the Israelite people go across on dry land, and then of course was it Cecil B. DeMille? No. Yeah. You know, the Moses, the horse and chariot are thrown into the sea, and the Egyptian army is wiped out, and the Israelites rejoice on the other side of the river. So then they wander 40 years.
Well, and in that 40 years they start going, now what?
Yeah, where?
What are we going to eat? What are we going to drink? And so, of course, God sends manna and water. And
even quail when the people complained that they didn't have meat to eat like the good old days. And yeah, a lot of stuff happens in the wilderness, but it says at the end of their wanderings that over those years God was with them. Their shoes didn't wear holes in them after 40 years. Good pair of shoes back then, and God basically took care of them. But now they're ready to cross, to end their wandering and to cross into the Promised Land.
So we need to learn a little bit about Joshua and where he came from. So Moses picked one person from each of the 12 tribes, to go and spy in the land of Canaan, the Promised Land, to see what it was like. Check it out. Find out what the people were all about, and what the land was like, and did it have good harvest and that kind of thing. So they came back and they were giving a report to Moses. And Caleb and Joshua were the two that were like, hey, we can do this.
The others were afraid.
The others were afraid, and they were saying, oh, the people are so big, and I don't know that we can do this.
Yes, yeah.
So because Joshua and Caleb had that great, well, it was at that moment then, that's when the 40 years happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, it was time.
Because they had been in the wilderness 40 days. And then all the 10 other spies didn't have great faith. So 1 year for each day they'd been in the wilderness. That's where the 40 years came from.
That's right.
And that's always fun to know, those little...
Especially during Lent.
Yes.
As we're 40
those
days.
Those little facts.
Of Lent, yep.
Yep. So the other spies died out. Generations died out. And
even Moses himself didn't cross the Jordan into the Promised Land. He stayed on the other side, but let that new generation move forward.
And Joshua became the new leader.
Yeah.
He was anointed the new leader.
Yes.
To cross over to the Promised Land, they had to cross the Jordan River, which at that time of year was at flood stage, and it was I was at the harvest time of year.
Another barrier, just like the Red Sea was 40 years
barrier.
prior. Yeah.
And so God commanded Joshua to have the priests take the Ark of the Covenant into the river and stand in the river. So talk to us a little bit about what is this Ark of the Covenant?
The Ark of the Covenant, as you know, in the wilderness, they received the 10 Commandments, the stone tablets, and the Ark of the Covenant was the vessel that carried that sacred script, the stone tablets, and so it was considered that is what led them the rest of the way through their journey, and it brought them to the Jordan River and allowed the river to part.
Yep. So the priests went into the river, and the river didn't just part; it backed up. And I was reading somewhere that the water got 100 feet high or 300 feet high, or really, really high.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is that the Israelites crossed on dry ground again, not mud, but dry ground. And then after they had all crossed, a representative from each of the tribes was asked to get a stone from the very center and the bottom of the river and take it with them. And they later built an altar with that. We're going to be doing a lot of things with rocks and stones and remembering. And so this altar that they built with them was a way to help them remember that God was with them and God could
did this great thing. Sure, sure. Delivered them safely once again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Well, and it comes to the bonus Bible verse, or one of them, or both of the bonus Bible verses that you'll be teaching the kids. One I was looking at in particular was Joshua 1 verse 9 is, "Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." Just like those people in the wilderness and coming up once again to this Jordan River, how are they going to cross it? You know, God is able to do these great things. And the other bonus verse in Ephesians 6 verse 10, "Be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power." Again, a lot of these Old Testament stories, this one as well, shows that God is able to do great things.
A big theme of this story is obedience to God. And Joshua's asked to do kind of a, I don't know, God has kind of I would think it'd be a crazy request. Go march around the city for 6 days.
Yeah, on the 7th day.
Do it 7 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
so for 6 days they had to march around the city, and again the Ark of the Covenant led the way. The priests had ram's horn, were blowing the ram's horns on the 7th day. They did it 7 times. And when they told the people, when you hear a long blast, start shouting.
Yep. Don't throw rocks or sticks.
Rocks.
Don't do anything else that God's hand will deliver the city. And of course that's the good old song. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho and the walls came tumbling down.
And there was one family though that was spared, and that was Rahab.
She actually aided the spies when they came into the city to see what was going on, and for her help and her trust and faith in the people of God at that time, she was spared, her and her family.
So that's kind of a fun story that we'll be touching on. Yep, she hid them and helped them escape. And it was good. She had to mark her windows that they would know. Just kind of symbolic again of the Passover and marking with lamb's blood on the
door sill.
On the door sill.
So what do they need to know for the rest of this rotation?
Another interesting piece is that when they built the altar with those stones at Gilgal, they celebrated Passover.
Mhm.
They celebrated remembrance of Passover. And as soon as they did that, and they ate of the goodness of the land, the harvest of the land, that's when the manna and the quail and everything stopped.
Yep.
So God had taken them into the land and cared for them and been with them that whole.
Now they ate of the fruit of the land.
Yeah. Well, we are going to have a lot of fun with kids in this story. We're going to be watching the VeggieTales movie.
I love VeggieTales.
Yeah, Josh and the Big Wall.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's one of my favorites. And then focusing in that one on serving God and being obedient to Him. In the drama workshop, we're going to be actually taking the different scenes that happen in the story, and we'll take we'll be in the middle of a scene and go freeze, and take a picture, and then we're going to make a slideshow with them and look at kids' opinions about what they think God might want them to learn from the story or from that particular scene. Mm-hmm. What was going on, and how can we understand it better for us? Then this is another one of my favorites. I guess they're all my favorite. I don't know, but we're going to do a construction workshop, and that's where this wall comes into place.
Nice.
One of the outcomes of that is we'll be building walls and writing our memory verse on the walls to help us remember. And we'll be taking a look at what kind of walls do we put up. What are our barriers to serving God or being obedient to God, and kind of just having an awareness of that, so that when they happen we can go, oh, okay, maybe I need to think about that. Yeah.
Sure.
In the art workshop, we're going to be making maps.
Okay. Maps
of this whole big, huge story. So from when Joseph led his family into Egypt, and how Moses led them out and Joshua led them across into the promised land. We'll be mapping that all out, taking a look at pictures of that, and we'll also be making some remember rocks.
Oh, good.
We'll be baking them.
Oh, fun. Kitchen workshop.
Kitchen, yep.
Gotta love the kitchen workshop.
Yep. And then we'll also be in the computer lab taking a look. The program we're using is called The Fall of Jericho, and it's got neat pictures and just help with understanding of more of the overview of the story. One of the other things that we're going to focus on too is prayer. So in our prayer time, we'll each be having a rock, and we can focus on something that we want to pray about, and we'll have a prayer partner, and then that partner is going to be taking the rock out of our hands and tossing it in a bucket of water.
Okay.
Just to help us remember that God lifts our sins, He takes away our cares and our worries. We don't give them to Him, He takes them. He's there. He's ready to take them away from us. And so we'll just practice that.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, exciting creative stuff as usual.
Yeah.
It's going to be another good rotation, and I look forward to it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Now, if I hear trumpets blasting on Sunday morning from one of the Sunday
Everywhere.
school rooms, I'll know what's happening.
That's right.
Good. Well, thanks, Beth.
Thank you, Pastor.
Yeah, and we'll see you in church.
Yep.
And Sunday school.
And Sunday school.
God bless.